I said, young man. If anyone knows me personally, you might know me as a big Marvel fan. And if you didn't, well, I'm not sure what to tell you. I consume a lot of Marvel media, and over the past month or so, I have gotten really into comics on Marvel Unlimited. Not sponsored. I have made a lot of Marvel OCs as well in the past, and I will show it if I can draw it up properly. X-Men 97 came out, and I was introduced to the wonderful world of the X-Men for the really first time, and I never really realized how unfaithful Fox's X-Men was. Anyway, you slice it, you could not have prepared me for the fall of X. Probably not a good decision to start my X-Men journey, but I read a few comics from that storyline, and I thought I'd go from the beginning. Spoilers ahead for up to issue 1 of Uncanny Avengers in the Fall of X storyline. The first was released on Free Comic Book Day, essentially giving those who do not have the digital platform to read the book. I have a light here that I forgot to turn on. That's good. For those living under a rock, Captain Krakoa is the moniker answer this book is focusing on. It is the moniker of Cyclops after he was killed in the public's eye in order to keep the resurrection of mutants a secret from the public, from humans. Don't quite know why. Probably because some morals involved. However, someone infiltrated the Hellfire Gala and stole the suit thanks to a certain metal man. He went on to commit various war crimes at the Capitol building in the USA. We then see Rogue leaving the Hellfire Gala to answer the calls for help as the new X-Men are voted on and elected at the Hellfire Gala. Cannonball, Talon, Sync, Prodigy, Frenzy, Dazzler, Jubilee, and the Juggernaut. However, the celebration has not long lasted since Nimrod and Orcus, a powerful anti-mutant group, attack Krakoa and kill a lot of the X-Men. As if it could have gotten any worse, it turns out Dr. Stasis, Mr. Sinister, is working with Orcus and a lot of Stark Sentinels that are on their way to also attack and kill the mutants. Why did I start with this storyline? I am rolling in my bed while I was reading this. Did I also mention that Jean Grey was killed by Mora and Scott is ambushed and captured by Orcus? Oh, that's amazing. Because that is exactly what happens. Wow, isn't that great? Charles is then forced to command every mutant on Krakoa through the teleportation gates, against their will. Some of them resist, of course. But before you start to freak out about Jean being dead and the Phoenix somehow not saving her, apparently she links with a mutant called Firestar, and she tells Firestar that she's going to help bring Dr. Stasis down. How does one do that, you may ask? By implanting memories in everyone in Orcus and mutants. Minds that Firestar actually helped feed information to Orcus and help betray all of mutant kind. Wow, isn't that great, Jean Grey? Jean just dumps on this before she technically dies, but we know Jean. In the script I wrote it as Jenna. What is going on here? She cannot really die. So Firestar is essentially sent undercover as a mutant, working for Orcus. After that entire fiasco, we see Jean's body and Charles standing over her. Hey, can we show this on YouTube? No, it's here, right? Yeah, okay, it's here. Hopefully. Look at that. Everything is going great for the X-Men. Hey guys, I am currently going back in this in post, and I forgot to mention that MODOK is there, and is essentially helping Dr. Stasis. Kingpin is on the side of the mutants, that's all I wanted to say. Then, after being teleported, White Queen, also known as Emma Frost, leads the survivors into the main area of the Hellfire Club. She tries to go through the portals that lead in and out of Krakoa, but apparently they're closed now. Meanwhile, Rogue comes back with Charles. Charles commands Rogue to leave him on the island, since the Orcus had promised to lead the refugees to a terraformed Mars. However, he cannot sense any anymore and says that he killed them all. I forgot how dark X-Men could get. I mean, I had a sense of it, judging by, like, storylines from the previous Ultimate Universe. But oh god. In something that I would like to call a post-credit scene for Marvel Comics, we see Kitty Pryde fall through one of the Krakoan portals, even though she shouldn't, but she also couldn't before, which is a bit confusing. Next, the storyline is actually an Iron Man story, believe it or not. Well, if you're keen enough, you noticed me saying something before in the last part. Before you get all up in your arms, saying that Iron Man is the bad guy here. No, he lost his armor and weapons to an anti-mutant person named Phaelong. However, we get more into this traumatic backstory later, so stay with me here. Tony still has his Mark 70 armor at this point in the timeline, so he goes with Rogue and Captain America to try and calm down Captain Krakoa at the Capitol. They also pretty much know that Captain Krakoa is not Scott Summers, that is currently under the mask. And yes, this also takes place during the Hellfire Gala and pretty much the Mutant Massacre. The main part of this specific comic centers around the White Queen as well. We see a few Stark Sentinels being controlled by Phaelong. Mainly since every mutant right now is like on an arrest list, and the White Queen is honestly no exception because she is a very powerful telepath. Tony successfully gets the White Queen to flee, but as soon as it seems like Tony himself is in danger, Emma comes swooping in back to save Tony from the brink of death. At the end of the comic, Tony commands the Mark 70 armor to rescue Emma Frost and take her far away from here, leaving Tony to deal with around 3 Stark Sentinels. I hope you can see my concern here. The Tony-Emma storyline is probably my favorite storyline by far in this specific saga that is followed by Alpha Flight, because it's honestly witty and downright interesting. It gets really funny later on. I'll leave that to a later video. Either way, I love them both the best, and the White Queen can step. To wrap up the X-Force comic that follows this, in about a few sentences, Colossus essentially gives up Krakoa, allowing Orcus to come in, I think, and essentially bomb the place, I think. I don't know, it's very confusing either way. Colossus has a brother as well, in which the X-Force flees to him through the portal. Colossus is erected, and it's so confusing. I hope you understand why this is confusing to me. If anyone could help me with this particular piece of information, that would be nice. The comics following this surrounds Jean Grey in this sort of pseudo-reality, as I will call it for now, until I really find out what more it is. I think it's the Mindscape, but I'm not entirely sure. In this pseudo-reality, Jean goes back throughout her history with the X-Men. So we see the original X-Men, like Beast, we see Iceman, Cyclops, obviously. But we see her take more control over the X-Men at times, trying to figure out what went wrong. Essentially, what they do in this issue is she commands them all, they kidnap young mutants, which they say like, oh my god, we're gonna help them and stuff, but it's also like you're kidnapping them. That is a crime, no matter what they say. Eventually the Phoenix does take over as she more or less destroys the pseudo-reality that she's in after Charles tries to talk her out of it, but it's a weird past Charles and not Charles aware of what's happening, I think. The last panel of the comic is one some fans might be familiar with. It's the space shuttle where Jean first discovers her Phoenix capabilities. The main timeline, I'm pretty sure. Remember how I briefly mentioned that Kitty could not travel through the portals when she couldn't do before? Yeah. Well, that essentially is where the next comic picks up, and she has a hatred for Firestar now because of the memories that have been altered by Jean Grey. Dr. Stasis and Firestar essentially go out and preach to the onlookers on the other side of Krakoan portal. Why is that word so difficult for me to say? I have no clue. Stark Sentinels are on the prowl as we finally see where Cyclops was taken to after Krakoa. Almost quite fittingly, he is put on full display and his eyes are literally somewhat shut so he can't use his optic blast. These guys are horrifying and would not want to be captured by Orcus. Then we jump cut to Emma Frost and Why did I say Captain? It's Miss Marvel. I'm gonna... before nobody's out of the woodwork yet. Pretty much her entire family knows she's a mutant and that she died, I'm pretty sure. So what does Emma Frost do? Like the reasonable, sensible mutant that she is, wipe their memories and forget that their daughter ever died. Oh, also that she was a mutant. They forget that too. Because the world kind of hates mutants like every second comic. You remember how I briefly mentioned like 10 seconds ago how Kitty Pryde fell through the portal? What I left out from last time was that she also ended up in the middle of a lot of Orcus henchmen. And what essentially happened was she did not want to talk about it afterward. Something happened with the henchmen and her, and got very concerned about this for a second because it's specifically Marvel. I thought it was going to lead something to pretty explicit stuff, but apparently she just killed them all with her powers, so it's not that bad. Honestly, cool display of her powers, and could definitely be used as more of a weapon. Thank God they didn't go the direction I thought they would have gone in. However, in just the final frames of the comic, we catch up with the present where Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, that's her superhero name, says she's gonna go kill Firestar for seemingly being a traitor to all of mutant kind. Uncanny Avengers comes next in the storyline. I'm out of time to be writing this, so I wish you all a good day. And join me as I continue to unravel the positivity and joy, I swear it's positivity and joy, that I get from reading the Fall of X storyline. Also, this ended up being a lot longer than I thought it would be. It's like 19 minutes as of recording this.